Hey guys, welcome back to the channel for the final video today. A review on Spider-Man 3, released in 2007 and directed by Sam Raimi, starring Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, James Franco, Willem Dafoe, Topher Grace, Thomas Hayden Church, Elizabeth Banks, and J.K. Simmons. Now, backstory behind this. After Spider-Man 2's immense success, the third film was already put into production, with Sam Raimi being put on as the main villain. But Sony stepped in and asked, hey, Venom put in there, even though 2 were already there. But you already know the story. Some people mostly already know the story. The story of Spider-Man 3, what happened, I'll tell you guys another time. Because, well, better tell you another time. Keep your nose sniffing, keep your eyes look out. I'll tell you what happened to that one. Let's start the good. The action is brilliantly well done. It's amazing. It's quite honestly awesome. I love the action. It makes you feel really good. And I really feel like it attaches itself. Like it feels lighthearted and dark. The theme song is amazingly well done and brilliant. It feels good. It feels great. It feels grand. It attaches to any scene it does, like Danny Elfman. Because, well, Danny Elfman does not score this movie. Christopher Young does. So, he did a pretty good job. And he expanded. He kept what made the original theme great, but expanded upon it, made it more major and big, and added in all the stuff. Spider-Man added on all the Venom titles that felt like Danny Elfman made it. Next was the Sandman's arc, which was brilliantly well shot, brilliantly well done. A man who was just doing right for his daughter, and even though, yes, they did change Uncle Ben's killer, people over-exaggerate how bad it was. It's what, like Hot Top from said, I exaggerated it too. All that happened is that someone else pulled the trigger. It still happened that had Peter stopped Dennis Leary, who killed Uncle Ben. If he stopped Dennis Leary, then he would have shocked Flynn Marko, who wouldn't have pulled the trigger and took away Uncle Ben. But he didn't, and he let him go. And Dennis Leary still killed his Uncle Ben. It's like my mom was right. I was wrong. But sometimes it takes a bit of shaking, getting slapped on the head and on the brain, getting tapped and slapped on the head mentally to wake up to the truth, getting snapped back into reality. Because a lot of times I speak to one of my teachers, other grades, another student my teacher always likes to chat to. We chat about stuff, and we chat about things we really like. And she often denies that it would ever happen because she's always too overzealous about being a fan about it. But you can't always take everything as fan. Like, I love Spider-Man, and like I love Harry Potter. And if they ever made another film, I'd love it. But the person I was talking to said that wouldn't happen. But here's the thing: it would probably happen if there was enough money in it. Why am I telling this? Because that's the point. You take it from two perspectives, as a fan and as a movie fan. Now, I'm not a big movie critic. I'm still starting my years out. But I've learned from some great YouTubers, and even though, yes, that is not the best source, but you learn a lot about a film. I study a lot about films. I may have not gone to movie college like Morgan Ross, aka Movie Flame. I may not gone to grand areas. But I do know about movies. I know more than most people should know about movies. I know more than my friend ever know about movies. When it comes behind the scenes, I know more about Spider-Man than even another big Spider-Man fan who's my friend is. I know more about that than he does. That may make sense to me, but does make sense to you. But let's continue. The Goblin Legacy. After Norman Osborn starting off evil and being a murderess and trying to kill Spider-Man, his whole goal was to end up killing Spider-Man. Then he started off wanting to try and join up with Spider-Man, but then tried to kill him and then died by his own hands. Then Harry Osborn soon took up the legacy, tried to kill him instead, and then he joined him, became a good guy, and sacrificed himself, redeeming his father's legacy, redeeming all the bad and evil his father had done. Goblin Legacy and Sandman's Arc are two of the big good things about this movie. It's why it gets a 1. That's why, if I count it on points, it gets 2 points. 3 for the theme song and 4 for the action. That's why now if it was rating it was getting 4 points. Next is the marketing and the hype. The marketing and the hype was amazingly well done. But unfortunately, the movie they delivered wasn't great. That's why people were worried about No Way Home. It's got great marketing. And the fans are even doing it for them. But will it be as good as the hype is? We've been disappointed with Spider-Man 3 before. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was planning to be a bit big, but it failed on all that. Spider-Man Far From Home was got a big hype, but it wasn't as big as I thought it was. But that's why I got 5th point for the big hype they did. The vibe, and it felt like a Raimi film. Now, you don't know what this means, but let me explain it. The vibe, the way it was told, the way it felt like Sam Raimi wrote and directed this. Because he actually did. And it felt like something he did. It felt like something he made. And Alan Sargent, the brilliant Alan Sargent, still co-wrote this movie. So he is still in here. Bill Pope is still doing the cinematography. It is amazingly well shot. It is amazingly well done. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's bloody brilliant. And I think it feels like a Raimi film. The theme song, the action, the theme song, the characters, the looks of the characters, the way they act. It feels like they're from a sequel to the Raimi films. The writing, it feels like that. Just it's cluttered up a bit, and it needs to be extended and more. In the middle, Peter's demons. This was not exactly handled the best way in the film. He dances, or I can say simply, he dances, and he prances around weird and has emo hair. I thought it was cool back then. The emo hair looks weird. His dancing is weird, and it's weird. It would have been more imposing if he was chopped down a bit from that. But I guess that was his perception of how to be cool. After that is the love triangle of Peter, MJ, and Gwen. It was done poorly. MJ was just being a jealous big baby. She was just being a baby. She was over-exaggerating about that. I get they were trying to do a reversal arc where Harry was the one being there for her instead of Peter was being the one being there for her. But I think they should have done it better with Gwen even having feelings for Peter. And even though Peter already had a girlfriend, it would have made more sense of the story. It would have shown that even though people are good, they can do bad things. It would have fit into the demon plotline. But I think instead of showing us the bad, they should have shown us much of the good first. Don't show us the tension yet. Show us the tension at the middle point of the film. Then, once we move into the symbiote side, then, by that point, now the triggering can begin, the tension can begin. Peter can start the tension can start. After killing Uncle Ben, Peter's tension can grow and grow. The real killer, grow and grow. While Peter and MJ distant from each other, MJ and Harry go closer. And Peter and Gwen got closer. And soon they both realize it's wrong to do what they're doing. And I feel like it does that great. Another thing is the story. Unfortunately, the story is too muddled up. I was going to think about pointing the good. Even right now, I was going to think about changing it, but it can't be. The story's cluttered. It's a mess. It's disorganized. The characters are too different. The plot lines, 100 different plot lines are introduced and they're not finished off. It needed a sequel to finish off these stories, but they couldn't be because what script could fit all these unfinished plot lines in and making up a new story and do a new story. With all the pressure from Sony, this must have been quite a task, a challenge to tackle. But the story overall is pretty one note. It's pretty bare bone. And I'll say the only other good thing that they'll give it a 6 point is, well, the symbiote looked really cool. It was a really cool suit for the time. Even now it's still cool. But yeah, next would be the characters. The characters don't feel like they did in those films. It lived off hype it could live up to. It's not those situations like Hyperfilm said. It couldn't live off the hype it couldn't live up to. That's the reboot films. They had hype it couldn't live up to. They had expectations that the first 3 films said it couldn't live up to. Spider-Man 3 had expectations set that it could meet. But they just couldn't meet. The Amazing Spider-Man can never meet those expectations because it's a completely new thing. Spider-Man 3 could meet those expectations. They just failed to meet them. It wasn't impossible. It was possible. It's just they couldn't do it. And overall, the characters suffer. Story suffers. And they're out of place. The acting is meh. The Peter Parker acts weird. Kirsten Dunst acts bad. Those are the only two tough cookies. Even Bryce Dallas Howard gets undervalued screen time for a character that's supposed to be a major character in the comics. She's pretty bare bone in this film. Next is the dancing. Already said in the first part, weird and just cool. I like the cool bit where he walks into the store and dances. It looks a bit awkward, but it looks cool in my opinion. I can even recite it myself. I'm not going to show you, but yeah. The weird plot lines. Yeah, there's a lot of weird plot lines in this movie to where they are. Yeah, they are just weird. Like, for some reason, yeah, they're just weird. Like, MJ's career going downhill. All this just feels weird. It feels like they're trying to retread steps, but it's failing. And it just feels bad. Now we move on to the bad, speaking of that. Number 1, Venom. Unfortunately, I can see where they're trying to go with Venom, but his story arc was so big you couldn't keep it in this one film. It needed to be its own film. Like, obviously make a Spider-Man movie with Spider-Man, not like a Venom solo film, but keep it with Spider-Man there, but make it its own thing. It couldn't be shoved into a movie that already had a bunch of plot lines, already had 2 villains in it. Had it not been in there, Spider-Man 3 could have been a better success. Would have been as big as Spider-Man 2, but it would have been still big. And then you could have made a Spider-Man 4 and 5 made back to back. Spider-Man 4 having Venom, Spider-Man 5 having Vulture, and Spider-Man 3 could have shown a couple greats for one film. It could have shown them being an amazing couple. They could go to their highest point as a couple, where the last film left off great. They could go to the highest point, almost to the point where Peter's now going to realize to propose to MJ. And Spider-Man 4 would crumble that all down. And then Spider-Man 5 would bring them back together. That's what those films could do. But it couldn't do that. But nonetheless, the plot lines like that were just weird. And the Venom story arc felt like it was too overcrowded. It was a cool concept, but too overcrowded. Concept was great, but execution was bad. Next was overstuffed. Already explained it throughout the entirety of this video. It was too overstuffed. The plot lines collided at every point. None of the plot lines ever got finished. You could not breathe for 1 minute without the fact that, oh, there's now a love triangle. Oh, the symbiote's there. Oh, MJ's gonna go F Harry Osborn. Oh, there's a Demon's plotline. Oh, Sandman. Blah. Goblin Legacy. All that was shammed into this movie. And another thing, the final bad part that nails this movie as a not received or received movie is MJ. And I believe, like my teacher said, they should have shown us more of what Peter Parker could be given rather than what could be taken away. He said that because that was true. We saw him lose so much during the first and second film. It was nice for him to get something good. This film couldn't do that. It shouldn't have. The storylines wouldn't have fitted. This third film should have been a happy ending for Peter. It should have shown us that Peter can't have a happy life. He can't have a suckful life. That's what TASM 2 will try to prove. He can have a happy life. But TASM 3, my version of TASM 2 would show me could have everything. And then TASM 3 would show me can't. Spider-Man 3 showed us they could have everything, and then Spider-Man 4 could strip it all away. And Spider-Man 5 could show us everything amazing he could get. Overall, the movie's stuffed. Everything some good stuff in the middle, bad. First time I've actually put stuff on the bad section. But yeah, a rating overall is 8 out of 10. I think the action is great. The theme song, the Sandman's arc, Goblin Legacy, marketing and hype, the vibe and the feel of the film. Yeah, the suits, again, another cool thing. And screw what Movie Flame says to say this. I'm sorry for this rating, but here's Mr. Movie Flame. I love your YouTube channel, but to you saying that, these Spider-Man suits from the Raimi films were a bit outdated for the time, those films are still good. Those suits are still good. So here's my message. Don't make another Spider-Man video. Because here's what I think of your Spider-Man video. That is to Movie Flame, Morgan Ross. Spider-Man Far From Home being a masterpiece. That's my message to him. Not to you, the viewers watching. That's to Movie Flame, Morgan Ross, aka Movie Flame. This is my message to his Spider-Man Far From Home video. Not the movie, what he says about the other films. The 3 Raimi films. They're bad, they have bad issues, but don't diss the suit. Never diss the suit. You diss the suit, here's your message. You can love the other suits, I don't mind that, but just don't overtly diss the older suits. And if you do, please just leave. But yes, overall give it an 8 out of 10. And check out the next video where I look tomorrow at the Amazing Spider-Man franchise. And even on Monday, you're going to get a rewrite of the Amazing Spider-Man 1. Enjoy the video, guys. And I'll make sure to see you guys later. Like I said, I will give you all the details. Make sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you get updates on all the new content uploaded by me. And enjoy this update. So, this is yet again another video in Spider-Man month of the road to No Way Home. This is payback for missing out on December 2nd, 3rd. So yeah, the next video will be repayment for December 4th and 5th. Enjoy you guys' day, and I'll see you guys next time. See you tomorrow when I review The Amazing Spider-Man, released in 2012, and The Amazing Spider-Man 2, directed by Mark Webb.